It's 3 o'clock. Today is February 20th, 2025. The Board of Police Commission meeting is called to order. Do I have Commander Chaplain Gregory Wilson online?
No, sir.
So the chaplain is not online. Commissioner Banks, if you can do an invocation for us.
Sure, Mr. Chair. Father, we thank you right now for who you are and all you've done. Lord, we ask the commissioners that's on the way that you give them traveling time and you give them grace. You will give each speaker the words to say, you will put in their mouth the words to say, to stir up the community, to empower the community with your spirit. Let your presence come forward in the name of Jesus. Keep the harmony today, Lord. Keep the peace today. In the name of Jesus, we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Amen.
Amen. We don't have a quorum yet. We are going to ask that we go to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have two speakers in the room at this time. Our first speaker will be Lieutenant Mark Young, followed by Ms. Williams, and then Minister Blunt.
Good evening.
Good evening. You may be heard.
First of all, I want to say congratulations to Chief Bettison. That was a no-brainer, long overdue, and in many ways waste of money because the interview had already been done with the people that matter. I've never been prouder to be the Detroit Police Department. I've seen my people constantly show up, suit up, and show out. Especially during this inclement weather. I had to speak today because of the water main break. I saw some heroics. I saw some courage. I saw some dedication. The dive team, the members of this department that were called into service, that worked around the clock continuously. But that happens every day. It's not talked about every day, but it was obvious that day. They risked their lives through water, risking hypothermia, pneumonia, carrying people out. That story is not told enough. That's the body-worn camera footage that I wish that this board would demand, because that's what the public need to see. Heroes in action, not the villains that's often discussed that don't exist. I've never been prouder of some of the men and women that suit up, show up unconditionally, and don't ask for much, just the respect of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I don't see Ms. Williams. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, through the chair.
That you may be heard.
It's very unfortunate that this woman had to lose her kids. Now, Cam, she's been homeless for the last 3 months. She was unable to get a referral to get into a shelter. I've been speaking about officers that are in these shelters. There's 26 shelters in the city of Detroit. It's very unfortunate. That money that comes from Washington is for the homeless people, not for the people that have the means to pay rent or that $3,000 signing bonus that they get or starting off for $55,000. But it's some in there that's been on the force and make a whole lot more money and has been in these shelters over 2 years. And I'm here to speak about equality, justice for all, not because you have a badge. And let me say, there's some great Detroit police officers in this city. But also, there are some who do not respect their livelihood or their jobs because they wouldn't be staying in the facility for taking up bed space from the homeless people. So at this point in time, 4 officers today at the facility I'm at 3426 Mac threatened my life, and this is not acceptable. Michelle Hall, LaShonda Houston. I believe she works at the 3rd. Now, I done been to IN complaining about these officers living in these facilities. And then this one named Amber Hatches, she works at the 12th. And this is what they do. Catch the bus. This is Hatches. She catch the bus. The 12th precinct pick them up in that van from Myers, and then when they get off of work, they get dropped off and get back on the bus. But the point is, the homeless shelters are for homeless people, not for people that have the means to pay rent. It's not acceptable, and you guys continue to act like it does not exist. Like you said, this weather is unbearable. It's very unfortunate people have to sleep on the ground. Thank you, through the chair.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. I'm Minister Eric Blunt from
Good
Sacred
afternoon.
Heart Catholic Church here in Detroit. Chairperson Woods, you seem to have backslid all over again. You've fallen into the same trap everybody else before you has. All of these awards for officers that are not your employees, for dog catchers, for who knows what. I mean, who's next? No, really. I believe you have such a low level of manipulation, you let anybody come in here and receive an award. So who's next? Donald Trump? Elon Musk? I believe you'd give them an award as well. For the HR report, stop all of the things that really don't matter when we're here for police officer misconduct. So let me give you some ideas. How about a detailed report on suspensions? Which ones actually go through the actual enforcement or not? We know they all go through binding arbitration, and that can result in absolutely nothing happening. So, yeah, that's the work. And if they are enforced, what is the length? Is it full term? Is it half term? Is it a few hours off? Another idea for the HR report, how about results of the drug testing? I was told there wasn't one, there isn't one. If there is one, what are the results? Even if it's random, tell us. We know an officer was addicted to cocaine, but yet this board decided to let them continue to be a police officer. On the use of force presentation, yeah, what about body-worn camera? Yeah, we want to see heroes, but we want to see everything else as well. And I believe everyone who is brave enough to file a complaint with OCI needs to be able to own the body-worn camera footage for which they are complaining about the police officer's actions. I guess I'm out of time.
I guess so.
Ms. Fredia Butler.
And let me address the resolution that we have on today is dealing with former Chief of Police Stanley Knox, who was a part of so many things, the second African-American police chief in the city of Detroit, someone who worked very hard to be able to help guide this department during a tumultuous time. He encountered the Malice Green episode and was able to see the prosecution of 2 police officers who brutalized Malice Green. So we as a commission saw it very, very fitting to honor his legacy. And so that's the only one we have on for today. But, you know, when we are a police oversight board, we ain't the police hate board. We have to continue to work with the department to come up with policies, and everyone in this audience is welcome to come to our policy meetings. I think we have one, yesterday, day before yesterday? Tuesday, and we are getting a lot of good input from people who believe in defunding the police to people who believe in building up the police. And we want to hear all perspectives and come to the table and reason together and come up with strong policy. Protest without policy is a sounding brass and a tingling cymbal. You may be heard.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Wake up, sleeping giants. We all should be paying attention to what is happening in Washington, D.C. As I have stated before, that we are in for some dark times, but we are not going back to the days they often slip up and talk about, the 1700s and before. The effort is to return most governance back to the states. Know our history. Remember Black Wall Streets in many states. Remember our education, gerrymandering, redistricting, and many George Fords. And now think and learn about how and why President Donald J. Trump is insisting and forcing businesses to get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. He said that he likes people who are not educated. Commissioners, my fourth statement is about all of our lives. Let's not stand back and do nothing. My 2 minutes is not enough time to explain in detail what we must do. We can join others in calling for Democratic and Republican senators and representatives and express our concerns about what is happening. The United States Congress switchboard number is 202-224-3121 and directs your call to any senator or House of Representative. Give this number to your constituents. We can't stand by and do nothing. I'm thinking of the hard times that we're going to go through, that a lot of our officers will not follow their instructions, as I've already encountered some. Thank you.
Thank
What was that phone number again?
Commissioner.
I'm sorry, what was the phone number that you gave for people to call Congress again, if you don't mind, please?
Oh, please do. 202-224-3121.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next speaker.
Ms. Janice Hall.
Very short. I just came to give a comment to the officers in the 12th precinct and the response
Can
time
you,
that
can
they...
you, can you speak in the microphone? Thank you.
Okay, I said I just came to give a compliment for the response time for the officers from the 12th precinct. I called them, and my son called them Sunday morning about 2 o'clock, and they were there within 10 minutes. I called, and then he called. There were 2 scout cars. They were very thorough. So I just want to give accolades to them for the response time and the courteous conversation that they had with me. One on the porch, one standing outside, and I don't think they get enough recognition, so I just came to do that.
Well, thank you very kindly. Can pass that on to Commander McCord. Next speaker.
We'll go into Zoom. Our only speaker in Zoom is Monkey Wrench Rue.
Yes. Gerald Brown, Commissioner of the Detroit Police Department, Oversight Committee, the BOPC. Now, okay, cool. You done stepped out of the matter of Kenesha Coleman, stepped all the way out the matter. It's my understanding that Conrad Malik is meeting with the board about the issue of Kenesha Coleman and this Michigan State Police report. But see, you done stepped out the matter and you put it in Tamara Liberty Smith's hands. And what I found out in the last week about Tamara Liberty Smith has caused me great concern. Nene want what she want. I done told y'all she got to get what she want. She want y'all to stop saying her mama killed herself. Kenesha Coleman, DPD case number 20-11112, did not shoot herself. Y'all can't come up with no lies. There's a 7.5 to 10-minute time period where that girl was at work where she needed to get information that Kenesha had shot herself. Now, I done brought this to the attention of the Detroit Police Department, the Michigan State Police. How did she find out Kenesha was shot or shot herself or whatever lie they done came up with? How did she find out that she was at the McDonald's? Her grandmother had dropped her off and went to her house. Her grandmother lived 7.5 to 10 minutes time period away. There should be incoming conversation, text message, call to her phone telling her that Kenesha shot herself. It ain't one. Ain't nobody produced one. I dug as far as I can dig. Now it's time to call the feds in. Daryl Woods, my words.
Thank you very kindly.
Gentlemen, sit over there. There's no seats over here.
If you need a seat, you can be seated over there if you need to. Yep. And that's all? All right, thank you. All right, let's call the roll, please.
Commissioner Woods,
Present.
Commissioner Bernard,
Attorney Linda Bernard, District 2, present.
Commissioner Banks,
Present.
Commissioner Bell,
President, District 4.
Commissioner Burton,
Present on behalf of District 5.
Commissioner Moore is excused, Commissioner Hernandez excused, Commissioner DeWalsh.
Present.
6 are present, sir.
We have a quorum. I entertain a motion for the approval of the February 20th, 2025 agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner DeWalsh, supported by Commissioner Banks. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. Entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of January 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Bernard and supported by Commissioner Banks. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. We're going to go to the BOPC Officers Report Resolution honoring former Detroit Police Chief of Police Stanley Knox. Would you like to do us the honor, Commissioner Bell?
Fine.
Okay. All right. All right. I will read it then. Memorial resolution honoring retired Police Chief Stanley Knox. Whereas Police Chief Stanley Knox became a hero to many in 1991 when he took leadership of the Detroit Police Department and began to steer in through unprecedented, turbulent times while rebuilding the integrity and professionalism of the Detroit Police Department, or the police force. And whereas a U.S. Army veteran, he drew on the training skills and leadership gained in the military to pursue a career in law enforcement. After becoming a Detroit police officer in 1966, his assignments included the 7th Precinct, the 10th Precinct, and the traffic section. Over the years, his performance and high standards as a police officer earned the respect of the community and his fellow officers. And he steadily rose through the ranks to become a precinct commander. And whereas the positive impact and excellence Commander Knox achieved as a precinct leader and law enforcement professional drew attention when Mayor Comey Young sought a new police chief in February 1991. At the time, Detroit had endured months of controversy and embarrassment during the federal corruption trial and conviction of Chief William Hart. Mayor Young knew Commander Knox had the high integrity, dedicated professionalism, and strong support in the community and within the department to navigate past the scandal and into a new and better era. And whereas Police Chief Stanley Knox successfully faced and conquered the tough challenges to stabilize the department, improve community trust, and rebuild the department, then the mayor and other leaders, Chief Knox kept the community and the department calm and together after officers fatally beat Malice Green and 2 were convicted of his murder. Chief Knox remained highly respected and trusted by the community he served, the men and women he served with, and the department he led until his retirement in 1994. Chief Knox, who recently passed away at age 85, will forever remain a notable figure in Detroit history for his role and actions in pivotal events. Therefore, be it Resolved, the Board of Police Commissioners recognize the significant contributions throughout the distinguished 28-year career of retired Police Chief Stanley Knox and the lasting benefits his actions had on the community and police department. The board awards this resolution posthumously as the Detroit community mourns his passing and extends sincere condolences to his wife Dorothy, a retired deputy chief, and to his family and friends. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Bernard to adopt this resolution. Anyone?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner DeWalsh. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. And let us now go, I forgot the introduction of BOPC staff and chief of police and elected officials, so go ahead and do that. After that, the chief of police report.
For the BOPC staff, Attorney Dante Goss, Chief Investigator Jerome Warfield, Drew Freeze, Felicia Tyson, Teresa Blossom, Mary Barber, Candace Hayes, Armesia Joshua, and Janya Underwood. Dr. Francis Jackson, our parliamentarian, is attending via Zoom today. Excuse me. From the Office of Chief Investigator is Investigator Ainsley Cromwell, DPD HR Director Katrina Patillo. For Chief of Police, Todd Bettison is Assistant Chief Ewing. Our interpreters today are Ms. Yakata and Angelique. Court reporter Don Handyside. Enrique Jackson is here for audio-visual. Charles Henry, Media Services Video. Those registered at this time, elected officials or representatives are as follows. Marie Overall for State Representative Tyrone Carter's office. Frida Butler, 2nd Precinct Community Relations President. LaDon Davis from the Office of Council Member Fred Durhal III. Mark Young, President of the Lieutenants and Sergeants Association. Ron Thomas, President, Detroit Police Officers of America. Scotty Bowman, and former Detroit Police Commissioner William Davis. Those are all signed in at this time, sir.
All right, thank you very kindly, and let the record reflect that Commissioner Lisa Carter is here, the Chief of Police report.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Assistant Chief Eric Ewan in for Chief Bettison. Got a short report for you in respect for the robust agenda you have today. As the Commissioner stated, we want to give our condolences to the family of former Chief of Police Stanley Knox. Let you know he was my 2nd police chief when I started this job back in 1985. And I was here also during the Malice Green incident and saw the leadership that he provided for us back then, and we're forever grateful for him for doing so. Community updates, as you all know, we now have a confirmed Chief of Police, Chief Todd Bettison.
Yay.
We can clap for that one. We're okay with that. I'd like to give his thanks not only to the mayor, the city council, this board, the women and men of the Detroit Police Department, but especially the community for all their support in making this particular chief see his day in the Detroit Police Department and entrusting him to lead us forward in 2005. Crime stats, we continue to look very well, good in all areas with the exception of carjacking. We're down 25% in homicides right now, 8% in non-fatal shootings. Sexual assaults are down 42%. Motor vehicle theft, 28%. Part 1 crimes total down 12%, slightly up in carjackings. We just met on that today with the chief and the mayor. We have a plan forthcoming to try to knock that down, so stay tuned for that. As you all know, we had this event in the Southwest Detroit where we had a flooding. We had the all hands on deck, all city workers, Detroit Police Department, Fire Department, all the entities within the city banded together in the Emergency Operations Center to make sure we got through this particular situation. The officers from the Detroit Police Department, along with the Fire Department, went door to door to make sure the residents in Southwest Detroit were taken care of. We were able to evacuate individuals out of their homes and get them to safety. You also heard the mayor offer the fact that if anybody had damaged homes, basements, furnaces, things of that nature, that the city of Detroit would take care of that, and we are currently doing that. What was nice to see is that we understand that there may have been some mistrust among some of the community members down there. But after they had the opportunity to see that we were serious about making sure that they were okay, we saw the next day that a number of individuals came forward, and they're seeking housing right now, so we're grateful for that. We continue to make patrols in that particular area to make sure that the belongings that are left behind are stay safe. Anyone needing emergency assistance now, if they have not called, they can dial 911, or they can also call this number, 313-774-5261. Anyone needing housing, cleanup, or appliance damages, things of that nature, they need to report, they can call that particular number.
Can you repeat that number?
Yeah, 313-774-5261. In addition to that, prior to that event happening, you all know we had the tragic event of two individuals, two young kids in the...
Microphone.
I'm sorry. You always get me with that, Commissioner. Every time I come here, you're always on that.
Because I can't hear.
Yeah. That's okay. But, you know, we actually put out citywide in the administrative message to all our police precincts and actually out on the news that anyone needing housing, they can go to any police precinct and get some shelter or get some help. We're happy to say to date we've had 46 individuals come into the police station and we were able to get them housing.
Good.
So that continues to go on as the frigid temperatures continue in the city of Detroit. Anyone needing that assistance, please go to any police precinct and they will help you out. Recruiting efforts, you'll probably hear this talked about by the director when she comes to give her report. But during Black History Month, we were at the Wright Museum in the city of Detroit. We had a career fair there. We got another one coming up actually tomorrow. It's going to be at the Great Lakes Comic Con in Warren, Michigan. Now, it's only right that we go in somebody else's city, try to get some of their people to come down to be employed here. But that's going to be at the address of 14500 12 Mile in Warren. That's from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow. So anyone interested in joining DPD, please come through. Anybody on this board that feel like they can still handle it, we'll take you too. No age limit here. The 5th Precinct Youth Development Boot Camp is going on. This is going to be this Saturday at the 5th Precinct from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. The MPO officers from there in their boot camp are teaching life skills and working with the community. And last week we also had the MPOs from various precincts going out, making sure that any elderly people that needed assistance in shoveling snow, they did that. You saw the 7th Precinct, I think it was Commander Johnson and his people were out there on the news shoveling snow to make sure that we service some of our senior individuals within the city of Detroit. The 11th Precinct had a Valentine's luncheon and the chief attended that. We had more than 60 seniors in that particular function, so great time out there. Thanks to everyone who came out and attended, and a special thanks to the MPOs who hosted that event and made it a great event. I myself, this Saturday, again, I have my Police Community Summit. It will be in the 11th Precinct. For those of you who don't know about that, that's when we have critical conversations with law enforcement and the community with the intent to bridge the gap. Now, again, I say, we are invested in our community, both law enforcement and community, and if you ever had a gripe with law enforcement, I need you to come out that day because I need them to hear from you so we can get better, and you need to hear from us so you can understand us better. So it's going to take place at Say Detroit. The address is 19320 Van Dyke. That's on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come on out in the morning. We will feed you. We'll get you a light breakfast. We'll get you a hearty lunch, and we'll put you through some situations that I'm not going to give it away. Now, right, Commissioner Banks? We don't want to give it away.
Right, right.
But I would implore you to come out. I think you will enjoy it. I haven't had a complaint of anyone who has attended before. Isn't that right, Commissioner Bernard?
Yep.
So come on out this Saturday. That is the Chief's report.
Thank you very kindly. Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, you may be heard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to thank and commend the police department for their work in Southwest Detroit. These past few days, it has just been outstanding. And thank you for also recognizing that many people who live in that community were not going to be answering the door, especially with police officers knocking on the door.
That's correct.
And so I did talk to DC Hayes. He contacted me, and we got a lot of different agencies to assist with some volunteers that also walked along the neighborhood with the officers, and I think some more doors were open. But that's going to be a problem, probably for several weeks. And many of the agencies in Southwest Detroit have gotten together and have been meeting, and also meeting with DC Hayes to figure out the way we bring those individuals out so that they can get help for their homes. And I know that a lot of the agencies are going to be planning hours to be open so that they can help translate, so that they can make calls, et cetera. But thank you. It's very appreciated by the leadership in Southwest Detroit what the department has done. Thank you.
Thank you also, thank you.
Yep. Commissioner Banks, or then Commissioner Bernard?
East first.
Yep, Commissioner Banks.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Through the chair, AC Ewing, you're providing shelter during this season while it's freezing outside. Now, will you continue that, providing that shelter when it gets warm?
Shelters are open 365.
No, you're providing housing.
We're providing shelter, and in this case, we have some housing also for the winter months. Now, the housing, when I say that, this is shelter for, and this is not permanent housing. This is temporary housing, but we want to make sure that individuals have the shelter they need to make sure they can get through this time of this season. Yes.
Yes, and I got one more. And the procedural justice program that you facilitate, you're bridging the gap, bringing the community and law enforcement together. I have been part of that for few years now. It's a beautiful thing. The knowledge that's provided, the techniques, and all of the things that one learns about the police department. That hey, they are some good people, and people need to. We got a lot of people here in this room that need to be there. I'm there pretty much every year, and it's my district, so I don't have no excuses. I'm in District 3, and it's right up there on Van Dyke and 7 Mile. I'm trying to get some other people to come with me, Chief, and I really love the way you facilitate that. You do a great job. You even bring detective, well, I can't say that, but I'm going to leave that part alone. I'm sorry, I don't want to give nothing away, but I like what you're doing. God has really given you a wonderful vision on that, and we'll see you Saturday. And then you deliver, you put out some good food too. I love that food. Yeah, I love to eat. I ain't gonna lie.
Commissioner Bernard.
Me too. Just quickly, just really three quick things, Assistant Chief Ewing. First of all, I want to congratulate you and the whole command and all the officers in this room and throughout the department on the initiative, on the purely, if you will, just good-hearted initiative that you have demonstrated in terms of addressing the needs of families in the cold. Every member that I talked to regarding the 2 children that froze to death in the car have been totally moved by it and have really, to me anyway, sort of pledged to our community that is not going to happen again. That is not, even the mayor said he was surprised it happened in Detroit. I think all of us were. But I want to thank Chief Bettison and you and the whole staff and every officer in this room and throughout the city for looking out. And for the officer that was featured on television who saw a family, 3 kids, I got 2 kids and an adult, pushing supermarket baskets down the street with their clothes in it because they didn't have any place to stay, and they were trying to do it. And that officer took it on his own initiative to stop them. I'm glad I'm sure they were concerned at first, but then he helped them, took them to the precinct, and got them all placed in housing because they had no housing at all. So I just want that to be very, very clear and on the record. Secondly, concerning the issues that my colleague was talking about in Southwest Detroit, I was informed today that the fire department also had a major push with respect to getting those people into safety, getting them out of water and everything, and that, you know, they have been as actively involved with Southwest Detroit as our police department. But the third thing is really just for the community at large, and that is that we are attempting to get officers, more officers within the department, and also officers on the SRT, Special Response Team. And I thought, just as an aside, you'd be interested to know this. For a male officer to be on the SRT team, he has to be able to run 3 miles without stopping within 25 minutes.
Wow.
He has to, that's 100 points.
Wow.
He has to do minimum of 60 push-ups, sit-ups, pardon me, not push-ups, sit-ups. He has to do a minimum of 30 push-ups and a number, 5 pull-ups. I guess that's something with the bar.
Right.
So that's how physically fit you have to be. Now, if you're a girl, then you have to be able to,
A woman.
a woman, female, we're still girls. You have to be able to run the same 3 miles without stopping within 28 minutes. That's a long way.
Yeah.
Of course, there are the reduced requirements for the sit-ups. You have to do a minimum of 25. You have to do a minimum of 15 push-ups. That's consistently. And then flexes, arm hangs, overhang grips, you got to hold on for 25 seconds. So I just want you to know how fit our force is and how aggressive they are with respect to these physical training initiatives. And it'd be good if all of us could do that, wouldn't it be? 3 miles in 20 minutes? Oh, God. But anyway, go ahead. So that's just for FYI, for your information.
Now, what is the SER team? You mentioned SER team. What is that?
SRT.
SRT,
I mean, I'm sorry, SRT team.
Special Response Team.
Tell them what it is.
You probably refer to it as SWAT.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, you
Don't refer to it as that.
Yeah.
I seen 3 officers a day in a car, in a black car, when I was today, and I spoke to him. I said, "Y'all ain't the big 4, are y'all?"
No.
You know, because I was kind of like, we don't need the big 4 out here, you know. And so I want to let the record reflect that Commissioner Smith is here. She just got back from the cemetery with those 2 babies. And we've been in that funeral all day long. And it's been a gruesome process. I want to thank the members of the community as well who's working with law enforcement who have stepped up in this situation. It's all hands on deck with this situation, from the faith community, police department. Everybody need to work together to be able to take care of our neighbors. And been doing a lot of things behind the scene. You know, we don't need to be seen on certain things, you know, but this is a gut-wrenching situation where we need everybody in this city to step up and be able to minister to the needs of those who are out there suffering. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I want to just throw out there for a second. I want to acknowledge a colleague on the board who's really been doing the work in the community since this water main break in Southwest Detroit, and that is Commissioner Lisa Carter.
Absolutely.
Her and her husband have been receiving calls throughout the day, throughout the night. They've been preparing kits to help families, going door to door, really been doing the job. And so this is the time we acknowledge a colleague that's actually out there doing the work. I just got done talking to her briefly, and she said she has not been able to sleep because there's just so many families have been out there reaching.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
I want to acknowledge somebody too.
Wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, I also feel constrained to acknowledge our chairperson who arranged for the funeral for these young people through Hutchinson Funeral Home in Detroit for free, and he also contributed to that, it's my understanding, financially as well.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
But Hutchinson was ready to step up, and so McFall Brothers, we have to give a shout out to them. But you know, we're going to have a clarion call for this entire community very, very, very soon, where we all can roll up our sleeves. The difference between illness and wellness is the I and the we. And so we can continue to turn on each other, hate on each other, be mean-spirited, you know, or we can love each other, you know. And so I think that we should choose love, especially seeing those two precious babies. I've been to a number of children funerals and seen too many babies inside caskets, whether they've been shot, whether it's been abuse or other things, you know. And so again, shut up and just say that very soon there'll be a strong clarion call for this community to come together to do some good, significant things.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Before you move on, may I raise a question to the chief?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Chief, there was a report that was recently reported by Charlie LaDuff pertaining homicides here in the city of Detroit, and there was something about 300 homicides in particular. Have you had opportunity, or your office had opportunity to speak to that or to address that? Because our community is starting to raise some questions about that as well. I know I received a couple of phone calls. And I remember, I think 2016, I believe, I've been on the board for a long time now. I remember one year in particular, there was a computer glitch.
So I am aware of that. I was made aware of that last week. I know that we're looking into that to see if there's any validity to that, but I don't have that answer for you here today.
Yes, and if I would like to see that article. I'm not familiar with that article. I would definitely like to see that article so that we can take a look at that, and anything that we can do to be able to facilitate getting some answers on any of those things, Commissioner. Be happy to work to get some answers.
Sure. Chief, you think you will be able to update the board by next week, in 7 days or sooner?
I'm not in charge of that investigation, but I will go back. We'll find out who is. I don't want to give you a timeline right now because I don't know how much is involved in that. But we will get back to the board on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very kindly. Make sure we make note of that. Anything further? Again, we, on behalf of the board, we are very, very pleased and happy of the selection that the mayor made. We did our due diligence as it relates to our charter mandated duty to be able to do a search for the police chief. We were obligated by charter to hire a search firm, and which we did. And I know it was some controversial things in terms about some of the candidates, but there is a deeper story behind those candidates. They were very strong candidates that interviewed. They were chief in other departments, leadership in other departments, and they did a great job at the interview, during the interview process. And so some things is skewed in terms of what you see, sometimes reported, and they have a right to have some things protected because they came through a search firm. We wish we didn't have to go through a search firm because we believe that we could have gotten that job done. Most of this board was in full support of Chief Bettison in any way, but we was charter mandated to go through a search firm. So that's what I want to say on that. And let's move on. The presentation to the board, the Human Resource Bureau, it's your time.
Good afternoon. Through the chair, I'll be presenting the Human Resource Bureau report for the month of January. So the department...
Excuse me, are you doing the use of force? Who's doing use of force?
There's another officer.
Yes, Lieutenant Hahn is going to do that.
Lieutenant Hahn is going to do the use of force report. All right, so go ahead. Next time, make sure that's indicated on the agenda. Thank you.
So the department was currently filled at 96% for the month of January. For sworn, we were filled at 98% with 55 vacancies, 2% vacancy rate. For civilian professional staff, we were filled at 90% and that was 10% vacancy, so we had 740 for civilians, the fill rate, and then for police assistants, we were filled at 94% with 6% vacancy rate. For the sworn recruiting, beginning of the fiscal year until January 31st, we had a total applicants of 1,704. In processing were 545. Archive was 427. We hired 91. Temporary disqualified was 165. Permanently disqualified was 135. And awaiting MCOs was 341. For the actual testing, written and physical agility exam, for the written test, we had 122 scheduled. 66 appeared, 45 passed at a 68% passing rate, 21 failed. That was a 32% failure rate, 3 with rescheduled, and 53 no-shows. For the physical agility, we had 144 that was scheduled. However, 50 candidates were unable to do the test due to a water main break over at the academy, so they were rescheduled. We had 48 that appeared, 24 that passed, 50% passing rate, 24 that failed, 50% failure rate, 2 reschedules, and 44 no-shows. We graduated 39 in the month of January. For new hires, we had a total of 21, 15 sworn, 6 civilians. For Detroit residency, we have Detroit total sworn 605, for non-Detroiters 2,013. For civilian Detroiters, we had 423. Non-Detroiters 319, police assistants, we had 15 and 15. And of those numbers, civilian new hires, we had 2 Detroit residents, and for sworn, 1 resident. We didn't have any student interns for the programs, but we are prepping for the Mayor's Fellowship and the Grow Detroit Young Talent. For attrition, we had a total of 40 that was broken out by 28 sworn, 11 civilians, 1 police assistant. And then for our leave of absences, for FMLA continuous sworn, we had 13 civilians, 2. FMLA intermediate, we had 113 sworn, 56 civilians. Paid parental leave, we had 11 sworn, 3 civilians. Medical leave, we had 1 sworn, 6 civilians. For restricted, we had 141 sworn, 8 civilians. Disabled, 18 sworn, 3 civilians. Sick, 27 sworn, 1 civilian. For personnel suspensions, we had a total of 23, 22 police officers and 1 sergeant. For monthly separations, we had a total of 28. That was 16 police officers, 7 sergeants, 1 lieutenant, 3 detectives, 1 captain. And for the total drop program, we have a total that is 500. Also, for our net gain, so as you all know that the contract, when we received that contract and it was announced in November, it was implemented in November 2022. So these numbers are reflective as of January 1st, 2023. We have a net gain of 339 officers to date. Those numbers break out to be 666 new hires, 327 separations. We have 5 academy classes that are at the academy right now, 137 students. Our next graduation class is March the 21st. We are conducting another hiring on February 28th, and then we will have another hiring on March the 7th, and then our next class will start on March the 10th. We are working on a new advertising and strategy media campaign from now until June. Our next career fair for DPD that we will actually host as well, one-stop shop, complete most of the process, is going to be Saturday, March the 15th at the training center from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. And so we're going to continue to recruit until we are told that we can no longer recruit. We are over in our police officer ranks, but we do have some vacancies spread out amongst some of the supervisory ranks. So pending any questions, that completes the HR report.
Any questions? Yes, yes, sir.
Question for the HR director. Not long ago, we had officers that came on board that was not MCODE certified at the time. Are there any updates today that you'd like to provide to the board? And also, who was responsible for onboarding them, bringing them on board, without fact-checking or fact-finding whether they had their MCODEs or not? And what accountability is being taken place or addressed in your office, pertaining this screw up.
So let me answer the first question. So the initial report that was given was that 32 officers were pulled off the street. So where we stand with those 32 officers as of right now, 26 of those officers have returned to the street. 3 of those officers have actually retired or resigned, had nothing to do with MCOs, so that brings us down to 29. So 26 of the 29 are back on the street. The other 4 individuals, the other 3 individuals, we are pending their information as of right now. And so as soon as we can get that information, we will finalize that and submit that to MCOs. That will take care of the 32. The additional 4 that are in question, 1 is already at MCOs, pending their review. The other 3, we are pending their completed information, and then we will submit that to MCOs. And regarding the accountability of the MCOs situation, there is a pending investigation that is ongoing for the what actually occurred in that situation. And so I have nothing further to add on that except for there's a pending investigation. So pending those results, that will go to the chief of police and I assume the Board of Police Commissioner.
AC Ewing.
Yeah, through the chair, to talk about how we're going to go forward to make sure it doesn't happen again. We've taken a look at this, and instead of having multiple units within the police department being in charge of this, we have 1 unit now. It's going through 1 unit to make sure all the names that come in the Detroit Police Department have a valid license. And I also have we're doing this quarterly, and they have to submit a written report to me of everyone who's hired or comes back to this department. They have to submit a memo to me showing me that the license are valid. So we got multiple checks and balances in place to make sure that this does not happen again.
And this is for officers who left and came back. This is not officers who were hired initially.
Correct.
Right. And yeah, rest assured that we are on this like right on rice. And we anticipate for the investigation to be concluded and the findings being brought to the Board of Police Commission. And if action need to be taken, I'm sure that this board and the chief of police will be ready to take action.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Question for the chief. Do you see any discipline going to occur from this? Once again, you had officers that was hired, that was not NCODE certified. They were in a uniform. They had credentials. How did they get those credentials? Are there going to be any accountability from this? Or are you going to be seeking discipline for whoever screwed this up so this won't happen again?
Commissioner, I think you're making an assumption that we're going to have someone who screwed something up. I don't know that until the investigation comes in. But I will tell you this.
Well, the officers that was hired, they were not MCODE certified at the time, but they were in a uniform, and they were out here policing on the streets of Detroit.
Commissioner, you going to listen to me? As I said, once the investigation comes in, we'll make a determination as to who's responsible. If we find someone culpable, we will have the appropriate punishment at that particular time. You want me to speak on something that I have no knowledge of at this particular point in time. But I have told you the process that we're going to put in place to ensure that this does not happen again.
What's the time frame on this investigation?
What do you mean?
What's the time frame?
We're expecting that this report should be concluded shortly. I can't tell you when it's actually going to be in. But we're not, I am
14 days, 21 days, 30 days?
I can't give you that.
Yeah. Please be quiet and be silent in the audience. No outbursts, please. Thank you. Again, Commissioner Burton, we share your passion on this and your sentiments on this, and we strongly anticipate the conclusion of this investigation. And the only thing we can do is respond to the investigation, the results of the investigation. And if there's been wrongdoing, then we will be standing strong, 10 toes down, urging for action to be taken. But like right now, we have to wait till the investigation is over with, and we are being briefed on it regularly. And so thank you, Madam.
You're welcome.
Human Resource Director, Madam Director. Who's responsible for Lieutenant for the use of force?
Lieutenant Hahn?
Yeah, Lieutenant Hahn. Thank you. Is this a lieutenant that works here at headquarters?
So Lieutenant Hahn works for our training academy,
Okay.
and he is responsible for training our recruits, which includes uses of force, things of that nature, preparing them for the street.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
What tab?
Good afternoon.
Excuse me, Madam Secretary. What tab is his report is in?
I'm sorry.
What tab is his report in?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. It's on the police chief's report, which is tab
Okay.
5.
5?
Should be right before the human resources report.
It's right after. It's right
Right
after.
after. In the order that was on the agenda.
wait.
It should be a
Yeah,
tab
right after. It
Okay.
with a yellow post-it.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. You may be heard, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Hahn. I work at the training center, like the assistant chief said. I work over in-service training. I'm going to be talking about the use of force categories. There's 4 categories. I was asked to just go over this briefly. It's important to understand that these are purely for administrative reasons. There's no indication of guilt or innocent or a justification or not justified. This is just simply a way for us to leverage our resources and make sure that all of the investigations are appropriately done and given out and handled by the proper department or the proper unit. The first category, and it's mainly done on magnitude of force, is the primary determining factor of how we organize it. And the category 1, use of force.
Excuse me. Is it possible for the community to be able to see that report? Is it a PowerPoint for this report?
Yes, Chair.
So it's the community watching this as we go along?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, it just
Not
can't
in
be
this
seen
room?
in this room for this audience. Okay, all right, so we'll try to work on that in the future, but excuse me, go ahead.
All right, no problem.
There you go, it's up there now.
Thank you.
It is on the website.
Okay, thank you.
So category 1, use of force, includes death resulting from a discharge of a member's firearm or any death following an altercation with a member of the department. It includes all discharges of firearms except for at the range and at animals. Includes things like chemical spray against restrained members, stuff like that. Any broken bones, loss of consciousness, any substantial risks of death from the injuries or disfigurement. There's some specific things unrelated to the injuries as well. Drive stuns, which will soon not be an issue because with the new tasers, it does not drive stun. It also includes probe strikes to a person in the non-preferred areas, which would include the head, face, and the groin area. Or any discharges of members in the special population, and that's determined by the Force Investigation Unit. Some of the things that would include is members that are obviously 12 years or under, or individuals that are over 60 years old. And this would also include any allegations of any of these types of force. Category 1 also includes detainee injuries, so any injuries of broken bones or loss of consciousness that happens in custody, anything requiring hospitalization or death, any in-custody suicides, all in-custody deaths, and it also includes vehicle pursuits. And then we'll go to the category 2s. That would be physical controls, strikes, kicks, any takedowns that result in injury, excluding injuries that are included in category 1. So that would be injuries other than something like requiring hospitalization or broken bones. Those would all fall within category 1. This would include intermediate controls, intermediate weapons that don't meet the criteria for category 1, any taser discharges to the subject's body, excluding the areas of the face, head, and groin. And this would include anything that the force investigations determine is not a Category 1. So they have added some to this special order since in the past to include some of our more intermediate weapons. So Category 2 would include the 40 millimeter launchers, foam impact rounds, or the pepper ball that impact the body. That did not cause any injury that would elevate it to Category 1. It includes an injury or complaint of injury that occurs in the course of taking an individual taken into custody, not requiring hospitalization. So it would just be injuries that are not as severe. Chemical spray where the subject complains of suffering from adverse effects. Category 2 detainee injury incidents, that would include incidents where there's an injury in the course of taking a person into custody or after they're in custody that's not requiring hospitalization or any of the other injuries that would be elevated to Category 1. In custody attempted suicides that the force investigations return to the parent command. So that force investigation would make that determination. And then the third category, Category 3, would include a lot of the other incidents. The subject for Category 3 must not require medical condition. So anything that requires medical condition would be elevated to a 2 or a 1. And the subject must not suffer from any adverse effects from chemical spray, and there must be no visible injury or complaint of injury. Any of those things would elevate it. So Category 3.
Let me stop you there. So the use of a chemical agent is clearly defined as use of force.
Correct.
All right, go ahead.
So and this is all of this is force. It's just we divide it up into categories and able to assign it to the different agents or units to investigate it and leverage our resources and make sure that it gets the proper attention. And the more major incidents would go to force investigations, whereas the less impactful stuff would go to the parent command. In the Category 3, that includes physical controls, compliance techniques like joint locks and pressure points, PR-24 as a compliance tool. That does not include striking with a PR-24. That would include some certain come-along techniques. The taser that does not take effect, any of the projectiles, intermediate weapons that does not make contact. For instance, the pepper ball device would shoot out the spray, but if the pellet doesn't hit the body and there's no adverse effects, that would fall under Category 3. Deployment of chemical spray where the complainant does not have any adverse effects, and canine apprehension minus a canine bite. And then there is a fourth category, which I'm not going to read all of this to you. You have better things to do with your time. But Category 4 was added, and it's a very specific category. And the intent of this is for force when we are assisting medical personnel. And there's some very specific requirements. We don't make the determination of, we don't force people to get medical attention, but a doctor sometimes will determine that someone can't make that decision for themselves, and we get called and we might have to help restrain them. And that's what Category 4 was designed for. So that's not your typical use of force, but it is technically a use of force.
You might want to add bailiffs on there too.
I'm sorry?
You might want to add bailiffs on there too.
Well, it's very specific because of the medical profession. So that's the way why they've written it that way. But we specifically, that has to come from the order from basically a physician or an equivalent. So that's where the order comes from. But when we're asked to assist, that would fall under the Category 4. And they have to be a qualified medical person. And that is the 4 categories. It's just important to remember that these are just a way to classify these uses of force so we can investigate them appropriately. It doesn't indicate any kind of guilt or innocent. That has nothing to do with the way we classify it for the purpose of these categories.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Questions? Yes?
Perhaps you can answer this question. If not, I would ask that our lawyer Dante obtain this information for us within the next 14 days. How many lawsuits have been filed against the department or have complaints in them about use of force?
I don't have that information.
I know you, I didn't think you did, but we do need to know, because that's where our exposure is as a department and where the exposure of the city of Detroit is from a financial standpoint. So we'd like to know that probably within the next 14 days if possible. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Lieutenant, is this use of force, the categories, is it based on the, what is it called? The use of force continuum?
It's not exactly based on it, but it is kind of relevant because the force continuum basically is a training reference to show the level of resistance as it rises, then the level of appropriate force would rise. So it is similar, but it doesn't really necessarily come from that, but it does kind of, it's going to naturally parallel it, because as the force rises in magnitude, the categories are going to, like category one would be the highest magnitude. So it is similar, but it's not exactly from there.
Commissioner?
Thank you. Through the chair. Lieutenant, do you have or know of any problems or injuries from taser usage?
I'm not sure how to answer that. There's going to be minor injuries from tasers because they are little probes that poke your skin. So we do require that they are removed by EMS, but that is minor. And kind of the premise of why taser technology is accepted in the police industry is because the studies have shown that the equivalent results and risk, there is risk with all force, but the equivalent risks the studies have shown are equal to or less than when a person struggles or fights, or we have to take them in custody with other intermediate weapons. If you have a heart condition, it is not a 0% chance that the taser won't harm someone. However, if I have a heart condition and I want to resist arrest and I struggle and I fight, that could also start a cardiac event. So what they found from the studies is that the risk of the taser is less or comparable to those activities.
Now again, one more, Lieutenant. Is that a standard usage for a taser to have, what, 50,000 probes? Is that 50,000? Is that correct? Is that a standard where a taser has 50,000 probes?
I don't know anything about a 50,000 probes. Each of our tasers contain 10 probes, which is the new technology. It's a little different than the old technology. The old technology had 4 probes. They had 2 cartridges that shot out 2 probes at a time. That was very limiting because the 2 probes came out of the same cartridge. Our effective range was between 15 and maybe 5 feet.
Okay.
Whereas there's a lot of, this allows us to shoot from up to 40 feet. And that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but we have to get 2 probes connected to the skin for it to be effective, and they have to be 12 inches apart. So the reason it was designed that way was because of this advancement of the distance, I believe, among other things. So I don't know anything about 50,000, but that's why we have 10, just because they've advanced the technology. That doesn't mean that we aren't going to be firing 10 on a regular basis. We teach the officers to continually assess, and once they get the desired incapacitation, that's where they will stop.
Now, through the chair, once again, Lieutenant, how long when one is stunned with a taser, how long does that neutralize an individual?
Well, the initial is 5 seconds. It gives them 5 seconds, and if they comply, then we're all done. If they don't comply and they keep coming, if we can't get them restrained before in those 5 seconds, then they would be re-energized for another 5 seconds. So
I'm all set, Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Bernard, then Commissioner Carter.
Just quickly, as you probably know, the board, we just authorized a BOLO wrap policy. I'm calling it like a whip that goes around a person and keeps their arms down and, they have to fall over then.
Sure.
Do you have any information on how, and those are also probes that are attached to the skin or to the fabric of a person's clothes. Do you have any information regarding the use of the BOLO wrap in terms of the injuries to the persons that it's,
I don't really have any, we've had very limited use, but I don't have any information specifically on any injuries.
The last report we got was, I think they used it twice.
It's, through the chair, I think it's about 3 times.
About 3 times.
We've used that.
Okay, but should that be classified as use of force as well?
It is.
Okay, so all right, thank you. Through the chair, Commissioner Carter.
Through the chair, you said something about a report, use of force report. Is there a use of force report? Have we gotten one recently?
Oh, I was about to.
Okay.
I was about to address that.
No numbers are contained in your report, Lieutenant.
That's right.
Do you have a use of force report?
I do not have any statistics for you today.
Okay.
Through the Chief.
Yeah, so this is a presentation on use of force, not for a use of force report.
Well,
we can work on that.
Yeah. We would need. How often do the department get the report? It's miscategorized on our agenda, and for the public, and I'm sorry, Reverend. We do need regular updates as relates to the use of force that takes place. Do you guys get it on a weekly basis? How often do you get it? I'm sure you probably get it daily, but if we can get it every week in terms of when force has been used in this department.
Answer.
Thank you, sir.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Question on
Thank you.
use of force to the chief and also to the lieutenant. When an officer violates policy on the use of force, how often does the department have that officer to go back through further additional training?
Through the chair, based on whatever the outcome is for that investigation, it differs. We do revisit the policy with this particular individual. It's talked about in the disciplinary hearings, things of that nature. Sometimes we send them back to the academy for retraining based on what ends up happening. It's all about the severity of the use of force.
Can you provide a report to the board based off the past, say, 3 years? How many officers in the past 3 years had to go back through additional training pertaining to use of force?
We can get you that number.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes, excuse me, Lieutenant. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, just one quick question. I'm trying to understand some of these techniques that are used. It says the use of PR-24 as a compliance tool is to assist in forcibly handcuffing. However, any strike with the PR-24 shall be investigated. This is under Category 3.
Sure. So
but
the PR-24 generally, when you see it in the media, is used as a striking tool. However, there are other techniques that are less intense. There's techniques that they can use to put it through your arm maybe and use the joint manipulation to bring their arm so we don't have to injure them with the strike. So the Category 3 would not include any type of striking. It would only include those techniques that are soft.
So it's not a tool, it's a physical technique.
PR-24 is a tool. It's it's like the baton that you would, but it has a handle on it. So the technique in the compliance techniques is separate from like using it in a striking method.
Okay, so I see, I'm sorry, through the chair.
Oh, you're good.
So I see that it says it's under Category 3, but if it shall be investigated as a Category 1 or 2.
That's if it's used as a striking tool.
Okay,
So
Thank you.
all force is investigated.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very kindly. Secretary report. Oh, excuse me.
I got-
Go ahead.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
All right. Through the chair, Lieutenant, Lieutenant, now, when the barbed wire, I mean, when the, what is that again?
Bowler wrap?
Yeah, bowler wrap. When the barbed wire, I mean, when the bowler wrap is released, what's coming out? Wire or ropes? What is that coming out?
I don't really know what the material is. It's basically like a thin.
Go ahead and answer for him, Chief.
It's a Kevlar. It's almost like a thin Kevlar rope with two prongs on either side. It shoots out, and what it does is wrap around. And the idea is that once it wraps around, the two prongs would attach to each other. If not that, the clothing to hold the individual within his arm span.
So it's a non-lethal. Explain that, because I know.
It's non-lethal. It's a projectile.
Okay.
Because it gives you a big bang. It sounds
Right.
like a weapon going off. All right, because it's gas powered. But it comes out in a string about 7 feet long, and it wraps around the individual.
Okay, so no matter how physically strong an individual is, they can't bust out of that.
Well, the premise is this: the individual will have to have their arms down by their sides.
Yeah.
So you could be wrapped and not be able to move.
Okay, got it.
Why it's made out of that Kevlar material, so it can't be broken.
Gotcha.
And can you explain to them why some of these things came into play?
So we all know back a few years ago when we had the officer involved shooting. I forgot the young man's name. Porter Burks.
Wow.
Chief then made a commitment to the community that he would get some less than lethal
Right.
options for the police department. One was with the bowler wrap, the other one was the pepper ball, and the other one was the rocket launcher, the foam launcher, should I say. And that's the reason why we have that, to give the officers another option rather than going to their primary weapon for uses of force.
Right. One more, Chair.
Okay.
Now, AC Ewing, through the chair, AC Ewing, now, how far do you have to be in range to release the bowler wrap? 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet?
I think it's within 10 to 15 feet.
Okay, got it.
You can't be like 20 yards away. It's not going to work.
Okay, all right. I'm all set, Chair.
Okay, Commissioner
I
Bernard.
just want to point out
Then
that.
we'll move on.
Thank you. That the bowler wrap, though, as all of these devices, if the device is pointed towards the head, the rules require, our policy requires that it be pointed towards the torso only, and that it not affect a person's head, neck, or their genital area, because it can put your eye out.
Wow.
It can, pointed at the wrong part of the body can create real major problems. So
Wow.
that's why. And it also attaches itself. It
That's
has
correct.
pricks, something like
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Question to the policy policy chairperson, Bernard. How about will you be interested in reaching out to the bowler wrap company, Terry Nichols, the vice president of the business for the bowler wrap, to have someone to come and talk to the board more about this? It seems like the department has made plans or whatever to go by ordering these this device.
Approved it.
But the issue is, should we be focusing more on de-escalation and mental health experts going out in the field more so than this device? But it would be good if we could hear from someone from that company to the policy committee.
That's fine. I agree.
Through the chair, and Commissioner, I just want you to know, equipped with the bowler wrap now is only our mental health co-response individuals. It's not equipped by any police officer in the precinct, only by our mental health co-response. So those 3 instances that we've used it it has been by our mental health co-response team.
I'm more concerned about the harm and danger that this BolaWrap may have on our mental health, community, those that may be suffering from mental health, and whether or not when these prompts, when it hits someone's skin, it causes a lot of damage, a lot of harm. And we have not looked at departments that have pushed back from the BolaWrap, nor have we had a ongoing communications about this system, whether it's on the east side or the west side. We have had some discussion about this in a policy committee meeting, but I still think that there needs to be more ongoing discussions about that.
We will be happy to invite the Terry, the director, or anybody else to have the discussion. Madam
Wonderful.
Secretary.
Wonderful.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Under your tab 6, Commissioners report from BOPC office, the memoranda from the committee meetings held February 11th, the Citizen Complaint Committee, Budget Committee memorandum, and the Policy Committee memorandum. The upcoming meetings are as follows. The Personnel and Training Committee will meet Monday, February 24th at 4:30 p.m. here at Detroit Public Safety Headquarters. The next board meeting is next Thursday, February 27, 2025, in this same room at 3 p.m. Our next community meeting is Thursday, March 13th, 6:30 p.m., and we will be in the 10th precinct at Union Carpenters and Millwright Skill Training Center, which is located at 11687 American Street in Detroit. That concludes the report for today, sir.
And personnel training, you said the personnel and training committee meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I mentioned that one.
Unfinished business, closed session pursuant to Section 8A of the Open Meetings Act. The department requests for the board to consider administrative leave without pay, but with medical benefits for police officer Alvin Alvarado Ortiz, badge number 273, assigned to the 4th precinct. What is the pleasure of the board?
Go into closed session.
Yeah, motion made by Commissioner Banks, and second by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. This is a 3.5-minute recess. 4:47, today is the February 20th, 2025. The Board of Police Commission meeting is back in session. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Woods?
Present.
Commissioner Smith? Present. Commissioner Bernard?
Present.
Commissioner Banks? Commissioner Bell?
Present.
Commissioner Burton?
Present.
Commissioner Carter?
Present.
Commissioner DeWalsh?
Present.
All right, thank you. What is the pleasure of the board? Is there a motion?
No motion.
No motion?
Case is dismissed.
Okay. No motion. Don't have a motion on it. All right. You may leave. We don't have a motion. Okay.
Another case.
The next thing, I need to restate this. It was wrong on the agenda, on my agenda, so I need to get this fixed for the record. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of February 13, 2025.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Bernard and supported by Commissioner DeWalsh. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. The new business, by Commissioner DeWash, Budget Committee.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion to approve the DPD budget.
So moved. Oh, no, you don't have to have a motion because it's a committee report. Is that how it works?
Yeah, by recommendation, you got to read the report, and then that's is by recommendation of the.
Okay, I was told I didn't have to read the report.
It's in the packet.
On the advice of the parliamentarian, she advised because of the ad hoc committee that the committees now do memorandums. They come in under incoming correspondence and then move on as, that's the one insert on recommendation of the committee or by the committee as written.
Well, not.
Okay, so let me just word it differently. I move that the Detroit Police Department budget for fiscal year 2025 through 26 be approved as recommended by the Budget Committee of the Board of Police Commissioners.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner DeWash, second by Commissioner Bernard. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Yes.
Question for the chairperson of the Budget Committee. Is there any way within this budget we can find dollars for our police reservists?
That's a good question.
I would just say that we had several months since probably December where the budget was provided to the board members, and I don't recall that that was recommended on the budget. I would just say, so we're approving the budget based on all the questions and all the recommendations that were provided to our committee throughout that period. And so that's why I'm recommending that it be approved. That question, I believe, is something that we could consider for a future budget, or you may want to ask the chief if that's something that they could amend for the budget. But we're approving the budget that we reviewed thoroughly for the last 2.5 months.
You know, that was a question that I've been raising for several years, you know, at the board table during budget discussion time. You know, every year we notice the department's budget increasing, but we don't see anything being added to help our reservists. Our reservists, you know, they don't even, they're not being treated equally like they really part of this department, you know, and the things they have to pay for out of pocket, you know, it just doesn't settle well with me or the community. You know, and so it would be nice if we can amend the motion at, this budget at this time, just to add some type of cause or something to help our reservists. I mean, whatever that dollar amount is, I don't know if we need to talk with our fiscal manager or what can we do at this time. Our parliamentarian is not here, but I like to amend the motion that we add a line item for our reservists. They deserve to be treated equally and fairly.
Commissioner Bernard?
I'd just like, if you'd be willing to take a friendly amendment, that we ask the department to respond to us on that, even at the next meeting. It's not rocket science. I agree with you, and I've met with the reservists as well, and they're out there in the rain and the snow and doing all the stuff that they have to do, and they don't feel that they're appreciated. When I met with them privately, personally, they don't feel that they're appreciated. So I'd appreciate it if the assistant chief would get back to us on what the department can do to recognize the reservists who do provide a valuable service to our community, particularly during, parades and all that other stuff that they do, as soon as possible, that there should, at least I feel, as well as obviously Commissioner Burton, that there should be some kind of stipend, something for them in recognition of their volunteer efforts.
Through the chair, and I do agree with that. I think they do
Thank you for saying that.
a magnificent job for us, volunteering. But just know, this board knows that all the uniforms that they have is provided to them by the Detroit Police Department, so I'm not sure what things they're buying on their own, but if I can get that information, I can look into that. But we provide them with all their uniforms. So I just want to put that on the record.
But also just some sort of stipend, not, just some sort of recognition. If it's just a thought.
Noted.
We want you to tell us what you think after you looked at it.
Absolutely.
That's okay with the chair.
I will tell you, we have been working on, and we have been looking at, just like we honor our police officers for doing a great job, ribbons, things of that nature, to show the appreciation for the reservists. And I will tell this board, the reservists actually fall under my side of the house.
Oh.
So I'm very in tune with the Reserve Corps, so absolutely.
Yes.
Training as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're free of charge?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. And have you had reserves who were reserves and said they wanted to become officers?
Yes, we did. We had a young female officer who went through the Reserve Academy, and shortly after she graduated, I don't even think she actually put the reserve uniform on. About a week later, she was in the Detroit Police Academy.
Okay.
So.
A lot of them are more mature, like 40 years old and stuff. They're more mature people.
We hire mature officers too. Yes.
As I said at the beginning of this meeting, anybody on this board, if you want to come on.
Right.
Thank you.
I'll sign up.
Right. The Reverend. Yes. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you very kindly. So the assistant chief would get back with us and give us a report on the reserve. The motion was made by Commissioner DeWash to pass the budget, and second by Commissioner Bernard. I would say that I want to applaud the chairwoman DeWash for the phenomenal job that she did, and the entire committee worked tirelessly on this board and really challenged department. And Mr. Nazarko that's here right now, he received tough questions, and Drew Freeze, who worked tirelessly with us as well, who is our budget guy. It was a back and forth on this budget. This is not a rubber stamp budget. The chief of police gave us the budget early this year. They say haven't been received early like this in a very, very long time, to give us the opportunity to scrutinize this budget and make sure that we don't have military grade materials out there. We was able to look at this budget and make sure that it was a budget that reflect our values. So again, thank you, Commissioner DeWash, and the committee, which I happen to be hanging out with you sometime too.
Me too.
As well. And so,
Commissioner Hernandez.
And Commissioner Hernandez, phenomenal job.
Commissioner Burton at the last budget meeting, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
He should have brought up the reserve thing. But that's good. That's a good question, though. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
One opposed. The motion is carried. So it's approved out of our committee. It goes to, I believe, City Council next? Or where would it go? City Council, Mr. Nazarko? Yes. Can you come explain what the process is? And you can go to City Council and send something to City Council about the reserves, if you think that they should be able to get a stipend or something like that, because they would have to approve the budget anyway. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, through the chair. Thank you for approving the 2026 budget. And the next step is that the mayor next Friday on 28th, I believe, presents the budget to the city council, and then the council turns around and approves the budget or rejects the budget. But the bottom line is that that's a step. The mayor goes to city council, and city council has the final authority to approve the budget.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we did demand that someone in the department be in these negotiations, and Commander Parrish was there present, and he was there to be able to answer things on the department side, some of those challenging questions. And so thank you very kindly, Commander Parrish, as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner DeWash and then Commissioner Bernard.
I just wanted to thank both Commander Parrish and Mr. Nazarko. We asked so many questions. A lot of those came from, the board, and as well as some of the staff. But we kept asking those questions, and 30 questions really turned into 60 probably, because we kept sending it back for more clarification, more questions. So thank you. You were very, very cordial with us, even though sometimes you didn't have the answer and you had to go back, but thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Through the chair, then I would like to add to that the real thank you goes to the chief's office for working with the budget team this year. Commander Alvarado, along with Commander Parrish, Commander Starks, Lieutenant Kelly, and the entire, there are so many faces, but these are the ones that you see and hear, but there are so many people in police department who help us present this budget in front of this board.
Thank you so much. Mr. Freeze, stand up. Thank you. That's our budget guy, and thank you for your hard work as well. So
I just want to
Final
point out to our audience that for years, I thought that you, Mr. Navarco, worked over in City Hall with the budget, with the big budget people for the city of Detroit. But it was revealed to us that you actually work in this building with the police department, and you are actively engaged, not just, from the city side, but actively engaged with the department. So I want to thank you for that, and let everyone know if you want to see him, he's in this building and you can talk to him.
Yes, past 6 years embedded in this building and working day in, day out with the entire department.
So this your third chief?
This is my third chief, and I'm not stopping here.
Okay, all right. All right, so the budget is approved. Commissioner Bernard, you have some action?
A couple of items that we've reviewed in depth at the policy committee meeting, which I'm referring for approval by the board. First is the motion to adopt 101.6 Human Resources Policy Directive. I'd like to move to adopt 101.6 Human Resources Policy Directive as recommended by the Policy Committee of the Board of Police Commissioners. One of the most significant things in this new policy is that the HR director will report to the chief, as they always have, but also report directly to the Board of Police Commissioners. And from time to time, we'll meet jointly on the HR policies and directives that come out of that department. So I move that you approve that item. The second item, I don't think they have to be separated, is the motion to adopt 202.5 Court Appearances Policy Directive. I move to adopt that motion. That has been thoroughly reviewed as well by the Policy Committee, stating really the prerequisites for an officer to testify in court and the tremendous follow-through, quite frankly, that's done by the department regarding the issues when officers get subpoenas to testify in court, etc. They have a very regulated system. At first, I thought it was like sort of iffy, but it's not. It's not at all. There is every precinct has a book, a command book on what officers are required to testify, when they get the subpoena, when they appear, and the commanders make sure that the officers do appear at the date and time that they're supposed to testify. So it's a good system, and I recommend both of these.
So
The committee recommends both of these.
Commissioner Bernard made the motion to adopt the human resource policy, adopt 101.6 Human Resource Policy Directive and 101.5 Court Appearance Policy Directive. There's a second.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner DeWalsh. Any discussion? All in favor, show by say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. And let me clear up a matter that the second closed door session has been, what's the language? Withdrawn because the person had to go to work, and we'll see at a later date to be able to get it something stated for that or set up for that. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
charter with the Director of Personnel, specific charter language. Could Mr. Goss respond to the language in the charter for the Director of Personnel duties, responsibility? There's specific language in terms of how she carried out her office. And I don't recall that reporting to the board as part of that language, but I might.
You said the personnel?
Not in the charter, it's the policy of the board, that the personnel director respond directly to the board as well as to the chief. There's no problem with that.
Asking Mr. Goss to look into
Okay.
that matter.
Okay.
The charter language specifically.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner. The board does not override the charter.
Not a problem. Yes, sir?
No problem. He's going to look into it. That's
Yes.
To the chair.
She is the board appointee, though, clearly.
Through the chair.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank Commissioner Bell of District 4 for raising that. That was a great question, and I was actually thinking the same thing. So we were actually thinking alike about that. But he beats me to the punch once again. So thank you, Commissioner Bell.
Well, the policies are approved now, so we have to go back and reverse the curse if it ain't the case. But good things. All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Adjournment.
Motion made by Commissioner Banks to adjourn, second by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you.